All right, everybody, it's another episode of the Reserve Man Podcast. I'm Jake Brown. I got with me GP.
What's happening?
Shagari. What's up, Stan?
What's good?
And we have with us the lovely Miss Brandi B. Harris. We have a great episode for you today. We're going to get to know a little bit about Miss Harris. We're going to talk about the current state of the national media. We're going to talk a little bit about the New Orleans Advocate winning the Pulitzer Prize. Did I say that right? We're going to talk about the 2020 election and so much more. We're going to do it all right after this.
You know your credit score bad. I'm not surprised you be on the Starbucks. That's solid quality time. Right. Why is Steve Harvey still writing books when it's Wall Street? Wait a minute. So if I want you, I ain't saying you to Waffle House at 4 a.m. Because you bullshit. Hey, look, I care about you. We going to Waffle House.
All right, everybody, we have a great episode for you today. We're going to start by introducing our guest, Miss Brandi B. Harris.
Don't forget the B.
B for
Do not
boss.
forget the B.
Who run this? How you doing today?
I'm doing well.
You
How
doing
y'all
pretty
doing? Thank
good?
y'all for having me so much.
Now, we're
No
so
problem.
glad to have you here today. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about what you do, who you are,
Where you come from?
where you come from?
Who I'm is. I got you. Okay,
Who your people?
My name is Brandi B. Harris. I am a anchor and reporter at WBRZ, that's the ABC affiliate here in Baton Rouge. I am a daughter of South Louisiana. I kind of grew up in a couple different places. I spent some time in a couple different places. Graduated from Southern. Whoop whoop.
Okay. Go
on
Jags.
the yard, you know.
Mm-hmm.
What else can I say about myself?
Did you have an accent growing up?
I get that a lot. When I moved to Nebraska, people ask me, you don't sound like you're from Louisiana. And I guess I'm like, what is Louisiana supposed to sound like? I do declare.
Well,
I don't sound like that.
Well, I was just, that's how they make it sound in
I
movies.
know it.
I was just wondering, did you originally have an accent and you had to work to get rid of it?
No, I actually spent, my sister, I was going to share that, posted this thing today, how I spent my entire life mimicking people on the radio, on television, and then I grew up what we call an Oreo. I was always the only black kid in my class, you know what I'm saying? Whereas I come from a family with a lot of street folks,
Right.
Street affiliated folks, so I had to learn how to teeter the line, is what I always say. You know, I had to learn how to-
Code switch.
Yep.
Right, code switching is
switching.
the academia term for it, yes. But yeah, I learned how to be Becky and Bianca. Finding a way to make everybody comfortable, or finding a way to make everybody comfortable, where my white friends, they feel like, oh, we didn't know you did all of that, and then where my black friends wouldn't be like, you think you better than, or whatever, just really. And then as I got older, stepping into my own personality, and now it's code switching like water, like
Did you go to
switching back
private
and
school?
forth. When I was younger, yes. But my mom made it a point. My mom is from Cheneyville, which is a very rural, mostly black community north of Zachary. So it was very important to her that everything I did outside of school was with black kids, really black kids. So she made sure that I was well-rounded, okay? Listen to 94.1 and 102.5.
I just asked because I specifically remember being teased because I sounded like a white boy because I went to a private school.
But the thing that I always bring up to people is, there was a time where my friends would say I sounded like a white girl, but then if I spent too much time with my black family and my black friends, and I went around my white friends, they'd be like, you sound real ghetto.
Right.
You know what I mean? And just as I got older, learning the balance and really just coming into my own and not trying to sound like anybody and just being Brandi, and just sounding like Brandi.
Well, I think that's interesting. I'm like 5 years old trying to not sound like me, but
That is a
the people
hard
that I go
complex.
home with, not the people I go to school with.
Right, and it is
Yeah.
a very hard balance to manage, but I've been able to step into it and not feel like I'm not myself.
So you're in the media profession, right?
Yes, I am a journalist. Yes.
Okay. So just what do you think, or what is your overall impression of where the media is today, as opposed to say when we were growing up? You're 80s baby?
Of 89.
Okay.
So,
She
yeah,
just
end of October 89. So I'm in there. Okay.
Alright,
Well,
she get a
one,
pass.
I think the way that it has not changed, but it has evolved. Okay. And it really has evolved because of the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Like anybody can have a platform because of the internet, which also means that maybe voices, ideas, thoughts that we didn't want to be out there in the sphere now have a voice, and it might resonate with other people, as disturbing as that might be. Now, the one thing that really grinds my gears is when people say the media. That is such a broad term. Like,
Yes.
have you ever defined the word media?
Right.
Like, and when people just throw that out there in general as the media, you know, it's be specific.
Y'all
Be
the new
specific.
man.
Yes,
Y'all
it's
the
the
new
new,
man.
the new man. It's this invisible, you know, boogeyman that's out there, and no one's being specific because there are lots of good people in the media. There's good organizations. There's good platforms in the media, but not this wide-ranging umbrella.
So I got a question for you. So you just kind of talked about the media and everybody saying, you know, the media. But what do you think about quote unquote media outlets like the Shade Room or
Okay.
TMZ?
What is a legitimate media source
Okay,
versus
so
a illegitimate
first
media
of
source?
all, the big thing is, how do I describe this without sounding like insulting? Maybe the word would be discernment. You know what I mean? The Shade Room, clearly there may be some information in there,
Right.
but should you take it as your first source of this is truth?
Right.
Maybe not.
Right.
I would Google that and double check. Like if they said that Gucci Man did something crazy, at least Google it. Just Google Gucci Man and see what comes up from a legitimate news site. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And again, salaciousness. You can look at the headline on the Shade Room. One, it's like the Shade Room is a good example. TMZ is a little bit more refined of a media outlet.
I can give them
They've
more
also had
credibility.
time.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You go back 10 years ago, TMZ was the Shade Room. They were
Right.
YBF. They were the Concrete Loop. You know what I'm saying? And it has evolved to where TMZ, I wouldn't source TMZ. I would never write a article and say, according to TMZ, I would probably wait to another outlet got it. But I would go with something they said to start looking at it, like to start looking into it, that there could be truth to it. But as a person that's receiving this information, you got to have your own discernment. You know what I'm saying? You have to be able to turn your subjectivity off and be able to turn that off a little bit to be able to read something and say, am I just getting mad about this, or I don't like this, or whatever because of my own personal background versus is this news information and then I can react to it.
So
What about
I guess
Fox
what you're
News?
saying is like, well, that's
Oh, well, I was going to say we can get to cable news next.
But I guess what you're saying is like CNN would be like an actual media
Yes,
outlet.
regardless of what. Okay, let's talk about
like
cable
the Shade
news.
Room would be like a gossip column.
Yes, a column is. The thing is, I think TMZ is more credible than a lot of the tabloids.
They've come a long way.
They in 10 years,
I'll give them
and
that.
it takes time to get
Right.
there to build up, journalistic integrity, and not everybody on their staff is a good journalist.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Some of the people there are very, very subjective, but for the most part, as an organization, TMZ is pretty solid. You know what I mean? You can get some solid entertainment news from them the same way you could have got it from People or Entertainment Tonight
Right.
20 years ago. Does that make sense?
Right.
It
Right.
does.
Now with cable news, my thing with cable news is people like to hear whatever they hear on there and run with it as news, whereas the reality is the only part of cable news, and I love CNN, I pretty much watch it all the time.
I got a comment on that.
What the anchor says, when they read the headline and they give you the facts and they toss to a correspondent that's in front of the White House or that's at the Capitol, that's the news. Everything after that is opinion. Everything after that. When they have the 3-4, what we call 3-4 shots, there are, you have the two side, the head talking heads, the two side by sides. If you're listening to that, you need to be listening to that just to hear the debate. You can't be listening to that trying to get the fact, because the fact has already come before they set up the debate. Like that's how the broadcasts are set up. My big thing with that is with CNN, Fox, MSNBC, whatever, is that most people don't know that. Most people watch it, and then when Angela Rye comes on, they're like, she's a truth teller. And I love Angela Rye. I'm not saying that she doesn't tell the truth. I'm saying that she's not the news. She is the debater. Like, she is the opinion. You know what I mean? So I think that those lines have been blurred over the years versus when my grandparents used to watch CBS, NBC, ABC, it was just news. It was just the information.
So what I was going to ask about is, it seems like, and I like CNN as well, but I will still just watch Fox just to watch it, just to see some of the foolishness they say.
Do it, man.
You know, I'll do it. You know,
Don't be giving Laura no numbers, man.
No,
but
the
to
one
me-
you gotta watch
to
is
me-
what's his name? What's the boy? I can't even watch him, but he is the one that he's like the voice of the right, and that's why I do listen to him sometimes on YouTube.
Hannity.
That's it, Sean Hannity.
So, you know, I'll listen to it because sometimes I feel that you gotta listen to what, even if you don't agree with the people, you gotta listen to what they're saying, just so you can at least be knowledgeable of what they're talking about. But it seems like nowadays it's partisan politics.
Mm-hmm.
So it's clear that CNN clearly supports Democrats. It's clear that Fox clearly supports Republicans. And to me, they only painted the facts that support those sides. And it's not always unbiased. Now, I do think CNN does a better job than other stations, but it seems like stations, they geared more towards the party that they support. And it's not truly unbiased.
I think CNN did a fairly good job of supporting both up until you got outrageous Trump in office.
I was gonna say because with Obama we were ribbing on Don Lemon. Don Lemon was not invited to the cookout for a long time, and I think it was because he was a fair journalist. He would ask hard questions of the left.
I think CNN was very in the middle until you had Trump in the middle. Until Trump got in the office. When you got Trump redeeming himself in the office.
Remember the Lou Dobbs days at CNN?
Well, maybe so then, but I'm saying, and I've noticed this was before Trump. I would say they took more of a strong turn towards Democrat with Trump in office, but I always felt that they leaned more towards Democrat.
Now, some stuff I like to always remind people, especially when it comes to news. See, my daddy was a history teacher, so I'm big on comparing what's going on in our sociology compared to what's happening in media.
Right.
The Tea Party was the Tea Party, and then there were events that happened within that same time frame. The Tea Party was taking off with these outrageous, events that they would have, and then we also started having Trayvon Martin.
Yeah.
Then we had all of these things that literally drew a line down everybody, whether it was in your office or on TV.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And I think that was
that's kind of when I noticed it.
And I guess, and I say this to myself at work, I tell this to my coworkers all the time, and that maybe CNN wasn't turning to the left, but turning to what is right. Like at some point, you have to decide that the stuff that Trump is spewing is not necessarily politics. At some point, you have to look at it from like an ethical stance and be like, do you agree with this or not? Because if you do, then we're on separate sides, and I'm going to have to stay on the left and be with the liberal media. You know what I'm saying?
No, I feel you. And that's why I say I like CNN. I watch CNN almost every day.
That's because you're ethical.
Right.
Yeah, but at the same time,
and I also feel like CNN gives, when they do have people from the right that are doing their opinion, they give them opportunity to, and sometimes they have the better sounding argument. You know what I'm saying? Whereas I feel like their counterpart on Fox News only puts the left that looks as stupid as possible versus making it a fair. This is the debate. Let them have it out.
Like I say, I do agree that CNN does the best job of all the stations that I've seen. It just still seems to me that, people lean towards the parties. Stations lean towards the parties that they support more.
But see, the problem is, I wish people would stop watching. And obviously, we all educated in here, so we can watch Fox or CNN and not necessarily be sucked into it like that. But most people aren't.
You're right.
And most people should be watching NBC, ABC, CBS for bare bones. This is what happened. This is what they said. This is what the left said. This is what the right said. You make your own opinion versus letting people talk it out. And now you're getting your emotions all tied into it. And
because you mentioned the part about facts, and I feel like people just miss all that. Because I don't necessarily have an issue with Republicans because some of their policies I might even agree with. But I feel like we get sidetracked from actual policy and what people believe. And we get into the opinions and all that kind of other stuff, and it just goes somewhere else.
Well, it's hard to separate it when you got people that are blatantly disrespecting other races, like Trump representing that party. So that's what you're
talking presidential. I'm just talking in general.
No, in general, and most of those people are people that agree with his ideals. For the most part,
I won't necessarily say that.
Whether they're blinded or not, if you're supporting him without knowing his agenda, and you can't separate that, okay, this is garbage what he's saying, but I like his policies.
Well, a lot of people blindly vote, blindly follow parties
for Obama and all that too. But I'm just saying, it's a lot more inflammatory. People that blindly voted for Obama not out here saying kill all white men, or they don't have the black superiority complex of the Trump people just straight up racist most of the time.
Well, one, you generalizing a lot of people.
I know. I'm talking.
One, I'm not going to do that. I think people are ignorant and people make excuses for Trump.
No,
that's
what I meant to say. They make excuses for the direct racism that he is
for
spewing.
bigotry. Yeah.
They're making excuses for
xenophobia
and prejudice. Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of the bombings and the church burnings is coming from supporters that say we like his message.
Yeah.
And he's not doing anything to correct it or to downplay it or to talk or to say this is
but
not what I want you doing.
But would you change it if you won and it kind of proved like people low key support this ideal?
And he needs to be reelected.
But
you still got to have the people following.
But there goes what I was saying. That even furthers my further establishes what I'm saying, that he's not going to speak down onto it because he knows that the racism is kind of what. Keeping him there. So he's not going to talk down on it. He's not going to say don't do this because people that follow him like it.
Right.
Yeah, Trump ain't no dummy.
Yeah.
Trump is not a dummy. He said a long time ago if he was ever going to run for president, he was going to run as a Republican when he was actually a Democrat at the time. So,
And the Simpsons predicted this.
Hey, the Simpsons predict everything.
They do.
Everybody needs to do a better job about learning what people are actually running on.
Yes.
What they plan to do.
Mm-hmm.
He ran on hate.
No. He not just talking to.
But and I also feel like just from outside looking in right now, with obviously the Republicans, the right, they have their platform, they have their guy, their ticket is set, whereas with the left, it's all over.
They doing too much.
I'm hearing about everything, and nobody's sticking to one thing, and you know what I'm saying, and no one has, and
you get reparations. You get reparations,
and we're paying off the college loans and Medicare for all. It's just a lot.
Like how?
Well, we actually about to ask you a few questions about that.
Okay,
but before we get to that, I did want to ask you your thoughts about the Advocate in New Orleans winning the Pulitzer Prize, and they were showing the staff celebrating and everything, and there seemed to be, in the picture we looked at, maybe one possible
black
potential
person.
black person.
So lack of color.
And there was nobody else.
So that was in New Orleans. That wasn't this
I thought that was.
That was New Orleans.
Okay.
That was the Advocate New Orleans.
I thought the video was
so.
Here,
but to further off of what he said, they won the Pulitzer for a piece they done on the disparity of blacks.
So let's first of all, they deserve an applause for that. Okay.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for them stepping up and doing, because that's not a TV story.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's not a lot of video I can use. We can't go into courtrooms. It's not a TV story. So the fact that they took that on, and as a series, as a staff, they took that on and changed the law. That's major. That led to, they weren't the ones that changed the law. They were activists that were out there, working with the politicians. But they changed the law, and that is beyond extreme. So they deserve a round of applause. Now, for the lack of representation.
Comment on the law that you're talking about?
Oh, yeah. So now, previously, prior to their work, Louisiana was one of, I think, only 2 states that you did not have to have unanimous, or the only one that did not have to have unanimous jury. So you could have, one person say, I think that, he didn't do it, and that's still not enough. If I'm the one black person and I say, no, I don't think he did it, and everyone else is white and they say you did, and that's your death penalty.
We talked about that on the podcast.
The Advocate did a great research on breaking down the numbers of how it affected black people disproportionately, how it affected people on the death penalty that's on death row, people that have gotten life sentences. It kind of really brought out the vitriol in some of the district attorneys. I was at the Capitol. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted to clarify real quickly. So for crimes where you were sentenced at hard labor, the major felonies, particularly like armed robbery, murder, aggravated rape.
Capital crimes.
Well, capital is just a murder where you could potentially be sentenced to death.
Right.
It was 10 out of 12. That's what you needed.
10 out of 12, right.
Yeah. I just wanted to.
No.
clarify.
You're right. But now we're like most other states, where soon. When does it? I can't remember when it goes into effect, or if it went into effect top of the year.
It went into
Top of the year.
Didn't it go into effect top of the year?
Yeah, I think it was
I
top
think-
of the year.
yeah.
But that's major. So they deserve a round of applause for that, because that affects
Absolutely.
everybody. To representation.
Mm-hmm.
I was just at school I graduated from, and I can tell you it's not that many kids that are jumping up like, hey, I want to write for the newspaper. And that is the reality. When you go in, and that's not just at Southern, that's not just at Grambling, that's if you go into a mass comm class at LSU and you ask everybody, you know, that first day of class, what's your classification, what do you want to do? Everybody wants to be Stephen A. Smith. Everybody wants to be on ESPN. Everybody wants to be a political analyst like Angela Rye, and everybody wants to be a media, like an entertainment correspondent. There's no kids out there that are like busting down doors because I want to be a newspaper reporter.
Right.
That's just not, you know what I mean? And there is a lack of representation, but it's not because of a lack of trying. It's really because print media is dying, number one.
Yeah.
If you look around the room in that video, most of those people are way older than us. The main people who won are definitely for sure like almost twice my age. And that's again because people my age, I don't know anybody that I graduated with that wants to work at a newspaper. Wants to. I know people that again graduated, didn't have jobs, and wouldn't go work at a newspaper.
Well,
Damn.
the salary is not, the entry level salary is not very appealing as well. Correct?
Yeah,
Well,
that's
'cause
a huge part of it, but it's dying.
Newspapers, that is the kind of thing where you have to put in your time to get to the next level.
Oh, baby.
And people don't want that right now. People want that instant gratification. And
True.
them old school newsrooms, you gotta grind. Like you might have that degree, but you're gonna go in there, you're gonna be serving coffee.
Yeah, but making $28,000.
Well, you're not going to be serving coffee, but you're not going to get the unanimous jury story.
Yeah.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's not the story you're going to get. And
You get Miss Barbara plants a tree.
right. And again, newspaper is a dying, print media is a dying field. Essence magazine now has a digital edition. Most magazines and newspapers are
They're going
converting to
online.
that,
Mhm.
or they're going to a paywall.
Essence
Why?
they don't do print no more.
I think they are, but they have
they
they now
do.
have a digital,
Yeah.
like that is their big push right now that
Instead
they're
of
putting
magazine.
money in, is the digital push, and that's everywhere. So that is the big thing, is that there's a lack of representation because
All magazines to die. I still like physical magazines.
I know
Me.
when Jet got canceled, I was crushed.
I didn't
Like
even know Jet got canceled.
Yeah, me
Jet, Ebony, those are gone, and I grew up on that.
This
Those are my
magazine is
subscriptions as a
GQ.
kid. So
It's only when I
Man,
get
Jet
to
is a
you.
barbershop
Jet,
classic,
beauty of the
man.
month.
it is.
Well, I liked walking into Johnson and Murphy too, but I mean
They
that's
closed all of them.
Nah, they ain't closed all
one
of
in
them.
the
Just the
mall?
one in the mall.
I know,
Louisiana.
yeah.
But that's what the internet does. That's,
But to me, I like the internet more because I just can get
Because you
it's
can get
so much
convenient.
more.
It's convenient, and I think that, and also, so on the side of, number one, people don't want to work at the newspaper because it's a dying media, and number two, who is the guy that hires the guys? It's an old white guy, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And unless you can come in like me and you can teeter the line very well, you know, if you're coming extra Malcolm Jamal, you're making him uncomfortable. And now I don't know if it's gonna be a good fit. You know what I'm saying?
But
So
most of
the internet gives people an opportunity to make their own platform. Like Sean King has the North Store now. Like that's major. So, you know.
Just curious. Do you think that it would have been more difficult for you to intern with who you interned with and get a job where you're at if you'd had a name that, like, Brandi Isha?
I don't think so
Brandi
much
Isha.
the name, because I see a lot of girls that have that kind of name and they come in. It's about, can you teeter the line?
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Can you explain what you mean?
Can you
By
not
teeter
make
to the
people
line, I mean,
uncomfortable?
can you cater to the 51% population of this city, which is African American, and also not make the 49% feel like you only care about them? Make everybody feel heard. Make everyone feel like I care and have that empathy versus I'm just pro-black or I don't want to be too black.
Us
You
or
know what
them.
I'm saying? Teetering the line, being myself, but at the same time, making everybody giving everybody a voice, if that makes sense.
I got a question for you, but I'm going to save it to after the break. What you had, man?
What I want to talk about was the perceptions that are put out there, and I don't want to say the media. I just want to say certain news outlets where they might describe two criminals, one's white, one's black, and they'll say with the white kid that he was just an innocent soul that just took a wrong turn and this happened, and then they criminalize the black child,
Known
brown
thug
child.
Jamal.
Right.
You know.
So
And they picked a thug picture with
Neighborhood
the air
menace.
guns and all of
right.
that.
The
I got
worst
you.
pictures,
I got you.
and then
I got you.
when they interview some of us, they find us looking all, at
I got a lot to talk about this. I'm
Yes.
ready. Yes.
Well,
Okay. Let me
they
get
find us, looking our absolute worst, and it's just
I'm
like,
sorry, I'm loud.
What kills me is the black kid is a thug and a savage. The white kid, he must be sick. Yes,
Right.
he needs treatment.
he needs some help. Yeah,
Right.
you know what I'm saying?
I'm glad you're so excited,
I am.
but we're gonna talk about this after the break. So we'll be back with more
Hold that thought.
right after this.
You know your credit score bad. I'm not gonna proud you on the Starbucks page. That's solid quality time. Right. Why is Steve Harvey still writing books when it's Wait a minute. Like, if I want you, I ain't saying you Waffle House at 2 a.m. You bullshit. Hey, look, if I care about you, we going to Waffle House.
All right, we're back, and we have some more questions for our lovely guests. Miss Brandi, you hanging in there?
I'm here.
You still here? All right. So before the break, we were talking about, I guess, the differences in the portrayal of people in the media, particularly like criminal defendants. Like, one person may be a family man,
Another one is
the other person's a thug.
Right.
Right. Baby daddy.
So,
right.
and you seem like you had a lot to say about that.
I do.
Yeah, you seem passionate about
So first thing, like I was talking about earlier with representation, there's not a lot of us in there to make those editorial decisions. So let's rewind it back. Most people maybe don't know how a newsroom operates. They give me the assignment and they say there was a shooting or there was a crash or there's an event or whatever. I go make the story. No one tells you what sound bites to pick, what person to interview, what pictures to use. You and your photographer work on that. Okay. So I make those editorial decisions each and every day. The same way one of my counterparts who maybe doesn't have the same background experience and personal references that I do, maybe won't think through those situations and decisions or editorial decisions the same way I would. So that's the first thing. That when you see this, it's not necessarily, it could be, but it may not necessarily be the organization as a whole. It could be that personal reporter's individual interpretation of the story or individual interpretation of a person. Does that make sense?
So,
go ahead.
oh my bad, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead.
So I was trying to say, so y'all don't do like a little focus group thing? Say like, well, as an African American woman or African American person, I don't feel like you should do this, and maybe you should try this rather than lean this way.
So yes, if there's ever time, and I have the opportunity before it goes to air to see what a person is working on or what pictures they've chosen or how they've written it or whatever, then yeah, I'll definitely, but for the most part, we are on such a tight time crunch that I don't see it until I'm seeing it on TV.
Because people be like,
For the most part.
people be quick to be like, oh, I didn't know this was offensive. Yeah, for the most part, yes, you did. But at the same part, if you didn't know, it doesn't make you not guilty, because if I'm ignorant of the law, I still broke the law and I can still go to jail. I can't say I didn't know.
So the difference is, I think, when people look at their own local media outlets or just the media in general, is that how many people of color work there? Not just the person you see on TV. How many black producers? How many people of color are writers or executive producers or associate producers? Those are the people that are calling, trying to set up interviews and stuff like that. How many people of color are doing that? Because if not, yeah, Brandi's the person you see on TV, and I've got, black perspective, but if everyone, the chain of command has entirely been non-color, and this is what I have to, these are the things that they've presented to me. It's really hard to.
But it seems like to me that most companies, and I'm not saying that to say the news is a company, even though it is,
No.
but like even with all these fashion companies being in hot water over how they put stuff out, like you didn't have one black person in the focus group to be like, how do you feel about this?
And I talk
even,
about
even
this
bring
all
in
the
a focus
time.
group and say, is this offensive in any way? Even if I didn't think my company was racist, I would purposely hire a black person.
Ancestry.com. I was trying to think of a place that had a recent one.
I
Ancestry.com.
would purposely hire a black person to say, how do you feel about this? Does this come off as offensive?
Right.
Pepsi
You
commercial
are a
always
person
sticks
of
out.
color So you think that way. You
Yeah.
recognize
Yeah,
the
you
strength
recognize.
in diversity and having multiple perspectives, whereas 56-year-old white man does not have that perspective. In his mind, if we had one, when she's gone, I'm gonna replace her with one more. Versus we had one, now let's make it two.
I'm not even saying
Of
that.
having those of different perspectives in
I'm
there.
saying not even the perspective. I would, as a company now, I would be like, I would want to make sure I'm not in hot water. Just
Yeah,
seeing
but
how
they
many
don't think
other
like
people
that.
get
They don't
attacked.
think
It's the
like
same
that.
thing. If
They
the
don't
o-
think
if
like
the
that.
owner is a 60-year-old white man, he's not going to think about. They're not going to think about that.
Yeah, but ultimately, if you own a business, you want to work with people, employ people that you feel like you'll get along well with.
Y'all using sense. These people out
Yeah.
here, everybody don't have
Right.
sense.
So we need to own our own.
Oh, they don't care.
We want to see more representation.
Yeah, because I mean, you gotta think about it. Some of them, they're cognizant of it. They know, but at the
For
same
sure.
time, they know how much you going like. They don't care about black people buying
see-
their stuff sometimes because they still gonna get millions of billions of dollars in sales anyway. And if they not getting black people to buy their stuff,
But-
like,
But see, here's the problem.
Did you see the article that said they were purposely driving their stock prices down to buy back their stock? So a lot of these, it was
Nah, I missed that
somebody
article.
did some research to where a lot these not whoever the companies were that was under hot water,
allegedly,
YSL, all these people they said, and it was some good research, but
I'm gonna say allegedly.
What,
A
it
lot
was
of those
Gucci and
companies-
somebody else. What was the
Gucci, YSL, and somebody else. But it said they were driving their stock prices down to buy it back, and they bought back a lot of stock.
Was YSL the one with the noose? Who was the one with the noose?
It's been so many, I can't even. keep
Because
track of
Gucci had the
everybody.
blackface, right?
Yeah.
Well, what I want to get back to is what I'm taking from what you're saying is that, you know, I think about all the quote unquote woke black people that we have now, how we complain about how we're portrayed in the media. But on the other hand, you're saying that it's not for a lack of trying, that you're trying to
Not
get
for a
black
lack of trying.
people into the profession. To me, it's going to be on us to change those perceptions.
Yes.
And you can't count on white folks to just go on their own, just change those perceptions. on
You've
their
got to
own.
be willing to do like you're saying. When you see something wrong, they think I'm the sassiest person in the newsroom, which I'm really not. I'm gonna say
You just
my piece.
opinionated.
I'm gonna say that, yeah. And if it's something that I think is offensive or not right or could be characterized as being offensive,
Right.
I'm gonna say that out loud. Versus, you'd be surprised how many kids, you're 22, 23, you just out of college, you lucky to get your first little TV job, your grandma watching. I don't know if I want to speak up right now. You don't feel like you're in a position to do that. And in most media outlets, you're either one of two or you're the only.
Right.
So most people, not all, but a lot of people don't have that backbone to be like, even though I'm the only one, I'm gonna stand up and say something.
Even when they're being inclusive, they're studying how to sell to us. Just like with the Beyonce thing. Well, I didn't choose Reebok because they didn't have any people of color, and I went with Adidas because they were well rounded.
That's the same company.
She didn't say
Adidas
that.
own
Adidas
Reebok.
own- that's the same company.
Yeah,
Right.
she
And she didn't say that.
But
That
why
was
isn't
the
somebody
internet.
big like Beyonce not having her own brand versus having to go?
She
been
have
trying,
House of
we don't buy
Darion
it.
and people don't
We
buy
don't
it.
buy it. Right. That's why she's trying to go with Adidas, because that's a supply chain that's
When the
readily
last time
already
you bought?
ready to
When
be
the last time you
from.
bought a lady House of Darion, GP?
Hey man, look,
Wait.
the last time I bought a lady anything, man, I've been single for so long.
Let's move away from Beyonce.
He's available at
Let's-
Biscuits and
let's-
Bourbon, May 19th. Sunday, May
let's-
19th, Biscuits and Bourbon.
Let's move away from famous people.
Right.
I'm talking about like
Regular people.
people. Yeah, like the issue is this: we can't portray ourselves in the fashion we want if we don't own the business. But the problem is, even if we did own the business, black
We wouldn't
people would
support
still
each
go
other.
listen to or watch other news stations because they feel like we're not as credible because we're black owned.
I don't know if that's the case, because well, yes.
Yeah, I
And
kind of agree.
we don't
with
be
that.
supporting like that. But when it comes to
I agree with that.
media delivery, I think people have media, TV, newspapers have been around for so long. People have an expectation of what it's going to look like, what it's going to sound like, how it's going to feel. Versus when people start off their own thing, it don't feel like that.
Tavis Smiley used to roll
Yeah, he was good.
on BET. I watched Tavis, so
I mean,
you can't say it's because we don't have our own.
Yeah,
I
but
think people
BET
would-
is
It's
black
not
owned.
really owned, yeah.
It's not. Yeah, it's not.
It's
yeah,
black,
Well,
it's not
maybe,
black
but
owned.
They
but-
own
It
it.
used to be black owned, but it's not
But
black
that's
owned
an
anymore.
example of when.
Well,
All right, a lot of black people had the misconception that it was black owned. So
I know, but one, Tavis, was employed by BET, and then after he left BET, he was employed by PBS. Then the Me Too the Me Too movement, made him obsolete.
Right.
But
Him too?
yeah, you know
I
about
didn't
that?
even remember that.
I didn't know that either. That's tough.
Yeah, he was one of the early ones.
I support your point. I do think that we need to do a better job of supporting our black-owned outlets. Like I don't really care for Sean King that much.
Mm-hmm.
He gets on my nerves at times, but I actually have to go listen to his podcast.
I think it's the action steps of his that I like more of.
Yeah, because
He about what he be talking about.
Yeah.
that's
You know
true.
what I'm saying?
I just think that he
I like his social
over-exaggerates
media
at
better than his
times
podcast.
and blows
For sure.
things way out of proportion before
But he's not a
facts.
journalist. Like that's what I'm.
But he seems like he proclaims himself to be one.
Well, that's the thing. Everybody is a
And that-
journalist because of the internet. We need more people that are trying to go to school, that read the
Right.
newspaper, that watch the news,
Right.
that want to be journalists, that don't want to just be famous, that don't just want, you know what I'm saying, that want to
It seems
tell
like they're
other
really,
people's stories.
they're really grind y'all's gears.
It
What?
should.
Internet reporters.
Oh my God. I hate them. And then they're full of opinion and they litter
Yeah.
their articles with
No.
opinion mixed with facts. And people that aren't educated don't know the difference.
'Cause like Sean
And I'm not
King-
saying I'm not educated
Yeah.
just like to talk down. I'm saying as in you're
Right.
not good at discerning the difference.
Right, like Sean King, he will jump to conclusions and throw out opinions before at least half of the facts are out there, and then he's swaying people's opinions by the thousands before they even have a boatload of facts, and so you already swaying opinions.
Well,
and
he
it's
had
just
to take an ethics class, so like you did.
So, what do you think about the 2020 presidential election and
she's already talking about them Democrats.
all the?
It's just a lot going on. I think
know.
that's the only side to watch for real. We know what the right is bringing. We know what their platform is. We know
So-
who their guy is.
What do you think about the multitude of Democratic candidates?
I think we are looking at 2016 all over again.
Yep,
But,
it's gonna be a
with the
repeat.
roles reversed,
Yeah.
I think that the person that will, and I've been saying this since Trump got the Republican nomination, and that the person is going to be a equal and opposite part person. It's got to be somebody that's also good with the quick one-liners. You can't be, and I don't want to use the word nerd, but too smart. You have to be able to talk layman's terms to these people.
Yeah.
That's why he
Charisma.
resonates.
Charisma.
Well, because some of them have charisma, but they're too smart. You see, you can't talk to Labadeville, Napoleonville, Downsonville
Okay.
the working class
I
people
get
of those towns. Talking, and you talk like Kamala Harris.
You
You know,
sound
even
like
though
you're trying to bamboozle them.
and you sound like, and for people like that, you make them feel like you're better than, instead of being able to
Right.
come down to their level. And even though I feel like the president is not, I don't see him coming down to their level. I see the language that he uses
Right.
that makes his followers feel like he's at their level.
Yeah. So with that being said, who do you consider to be the strongest candidate out of the Democratic field?
I don't know if I see a lot of good contenders. I'm not seeing anybody that can battle him in a debate. You know what I'm saying? They all have really good platforms. Everybody's super smart. Everybody's trying to pander to the people that they feel like they need to get in order to win. But I have not seen one person. I remember this in 2016. That one of the first presidential debates, and it was all 17 Republicans up there, and he said no policy. He said nothing of any kind of actual content, but he was hitting them with the "there's nothing wrong with my hands" and
Right.
settle down, little Marco, and just those little things were so entertaining. At the time, I thought it was a joke to me, and I was just entertained and laughing. Whereas, obviously, politics is not a joke, and I'm not saying it should be. But most people in America, we have a short attention span. So when you start talking these long-winded platforms and all these details, you have completely lost 70% of your audience. We need someone that's going to be able to combat him in a debate. Hillary Clinton wrote in her book about how she wished she would have said, "Back off of me." You should have. That would have been the highlight of the night the next morning. That would have been the clip we
been a fight
replayed
on his
over and
level.
over. Yes.
I think Joe Biden's supposed to throw his hat in the ring this week.
I think Joe.
I don't think he is.
I don't think he got it.
Me Too swept him up, and then people are going to bring back, and even if Me Too didn't sweep him up, so to say, Danita Hill is going to always come back and just end this Me Too climate. It's not for you, Joe. People love you, and you're endeared, but
So it sounds like you're saying Trump about to be reelected.
Unless someone can step forward with that personality, and it's more than just charisma. It's really
But you
getting
ain't
on
even
the
got
layman's
you ain't
level.
even got to have that to defeat the Democrats. Because Democrats so divided, you're gonna have people wanting this candidate and this candidate
But
and
that's
this
what-
candidate
look-
and this candidate, and the Republicans gonna stick with their one.
But no, that's what the Republicans
Yeah,
did.
the
Marco
Republicans did
Rubio
too.
had a strong following. Ted Cruz had a really strong
Yeah.
following. Up in Iowa,
It was
Ben
plenty.
Carson had a big following. But
Because Trump didn't get the majority. I mean, he had, 20-something%, but it was just more than everybody else. I just think you got to have charisma, but they also have to be realistic with their plans.
yeah,
Because some of them plans, like from Bernie, for instance, some of his stuff is so outlandish, it's like Bernie.
Like, where we get
Like-
this money
like,
from, Bernie?
How are you going to do this?
Right.
And then they got to stop the reparations talk. I don't mind talking about reparations, but they'll throw it out there, but then they don't really have any solid, concrete plan on how they will even do reparations.
yeah. Well, I think right now what I've been hearing from them is, and what I think has been resonating with voters is just to say what you feel on reparations, not necessarily the plan and are people gonna get checks, are we gonna pay for college or whatever, but just do you support the idea of paying people back for what was done to their ancestors. And that's to me is a huge thing.
Right.
That just to be having this conversation and then on the national level is
Right.
strides.
I got one more question on politics. Do you think that these candidates should have a black agenda, like a specific black agenda, or should their policy just encompass, just helping black people too? Because I think it might have been Charlemagne talking about it on either the Breakfast Club or the Brilliant Idiots. But I was just thinking about that. So what do you think about that?
I think that we were talking about woke folks. I think that because of the internet, and in a positive way, people are a lot more aware. Whether they are way too far, fake hotep, or they're actually trying to gather information, people care and they're aware. So I do think you need to not pander, because
Right.
I think people are a lot more aware of when you're pandering
Right.
versus when you really legitimately care. And yes, you need to have something specifically where you can get in front of black audiences and say X, Y, and Z. What I think needs to change among the Democrats that I've been seeing a lot of, you go to a black church and you talk about how you hate racism. Well, we know that.
Right.
Kettle meat pot. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Turn around and go to the other church and say that same thing. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? I think, I don't know how they're going to be able to manage that, but again, with the internet and people being able to respond so quickly, they're going to have to get with it very quickly. And if it doesn't work out for this coming election 2020, I do see in the next few election cycles that becoming a big thing we see among all candidates, that they're going to have specifically a black platform.
So, are you into music? You like rap?
Of course, I'm a hip hop head.
Who are your top 5 favorite MCs?
Lil Wayne,
all time?
number
Like
one.
of all time.
All time.
Wayne has gone down.
What?
I told you because of the Saints, number one. Then there were a couple of comments he made.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
a
he's not
Packers
a Saints
fan.
fan, man, and that kind of bothers me.
That way since he was
I
a kid.
know,
Yeah, but
I
that's still
know.
ridiculous.
But when we
No,
went to
it's
the
not. The
Super
Saints was
Bowl,
trash.
right? But when we went to
I
the
was a
Super
Saints
Bowl,
fan
he
the whole
still
time.
was
But
very
you
clear
are
that he was rooting
exceptional.
for Brett Favre. Like, that was my thing. Like the Saints had their chance to go to the Super Bowl.
I
and he was
respect
still.
that though. I respect somebody that stick to their team no matter what.
And
But
I-
that was the
Man.
Vikings.
That was the Vikings. That wasn't Green Bay. That's what I'm saying. So you a Brett Favre fan? That's why I felt some kind
So
of way.
he like a LeBron fan, just with Brett Favre.
Nah, I won't say a LeBron fan.
So Wayne used to be top
R&B.
5 right now.
I'm waiting to hit one name.
J. Cole is.
Okay.
I don't even know if I want to put him at number 1, but he's up there.
Right,
Jay Z.
around right now. you
I've
can
got to
him
put
number
Jay Z
one.
up there. I know a lot of people like to say he's old or whatever.
We
He's
talking
classic and he's
of all
legendary,
time.
and he
I-
goes
I
there.
still listen to
Yeah,
Jay.
he goes there.
You doing the current top 5 or all time top 5?
All time. J. Cole is up there for me for sure. It's been 10 years that I've been listening to J. Cole
you can't
heavy.
put him at number 1 though.
No, not at number 1. That's why I
Okay.
say I don't know about the order. Not in any specific order.
Okay,
J.
okay.
Cole, Jay-Z, Wayne would have to be in the top 5.
Right.
Okay, I'm not going to say in number 1 or my favorite anymore, but the history
There's
is
one
there.
point where Wayne was your number one though.
Yeah, the history certainly was there,
Alright.
for sure.
I feel like a
It's
name's
too
coming
deep
that
for
I'm
me to
thinking
be
about
like,
now.
just cut Wayne out. And I know it's going to sound like I'm riding, but I promise I'm not, because I got videos. We went to the concerts, everything. Nipsey Hussle is on there.
Top 5?
Yes, Victory Lap was my favorite album all last year. Asked my husband. I went to go see Nipsey Hussle at the
But where
Varsity.
is it on your all-time album list?
he might be the Victory Lap might easily be in the top
It's your
5
favorite?
rap albums of all time. It was very, very good. I love it.
I like Crenshaw more than Victory Lap.
I like individual songs off of Crenshaw. I like Victory Lap as an entire project, like from beginning to end. I like it. I thought it was a very well
Much
put together
respect to
album.
Nipsey, but nah.
Oh, wait a minute. Let's finish the 5.
It used to be Don't Judge Me, Boosie, but I've taken him off of my list.
Yeah,
Young you.
Yeah, it was my good better days.
Santa
It
Mo
was my
Brandy.
better days. It was my better days. Okay, let's not judge. Who else? Let me look at my title real quick that I've been listening to
We
lately.
need 2 more.
Nah, we got 4.
She said Jay-Z,
She
Jay-Z,
said
J. Cole,
Lil Wayne.
Lil Wayne, and
Nipsey.
Nipsey.
Okay, we need 1.
The
Pre-Kardashian,
fact that you gotta go
Kanye.
to title, that's not a good
Because I have
sign.
so many favorites. Like, it's hard for me to say a favorite. Everything is my favorite.
No Pac.
Well, you
no
have to.
Biggie,
Well, you
no
but you have to
Nas.
consider. She did say 89, so
Yeah,
when Pac and Biggie, Snoop Dogg, and all those guys.
the thing
were
is, when I think
in
of
their
my favorites, I
prime, she
think
was
of
very
people that I
young.
pretty much have been listening to as long as I can remember. Do you get what I'm saying?
Nah, I feel you.
She very
Like,
young.
I was in kindergarten when
No.
Reasonable Doubt came out. My mama had that on tape. You know what I mean?
You're
So,
right. Reasonable, that's
yeah.
my favorite Jay-Z album.
Oh, easy. Off, yeah,
People
really.
be sleeping on that one still.
No,
No,
it
that's-
still go hard.
So-
Still to this day.
That's a
Still
that's
to
a
this
that's a
day.
great album.
Yeah.
I don't know who's sleeping on that.
Well,
Though.
wait a minute. So you just giving us a top 4?
No, I guess I'll be a stereotypical black girl and say Drake. I'm sorry.
Give me pre-Kardashian, Kanye.
I'm gonna
Drake.
respect your list.
Kanye used to be on my list, but
Pre-
Kanye's canceled. He can't be on my
Kardashian
list. He
Kanye,
can't be on my list.
You gotta specify.
Not even pre-Kardashian. Before Yeezus, I was
Yeah,
there.
that's
So
Before Yeezus.
so you
What was the
can't-
album
you
before
can't-
Yeezus?
My Dark Twisted Fantasy.
you
No,
That was a
not
great
that
album.
one.
808s.
No.
It was College Dropout, Late
Late
Registration,
Registration,
Graduation, 808s, and My Dark Twisted Fantasy.
All of them. That's Kanye.
And then
for
he
me.
had
That's
one with
the
Jay-Z,
only
Watch the
Kanye-
Throne.
So you can't.
That I like Watch the Throne,
Yeah.
but that don't count as a Kanye album to me.
Oh, Life of Pablo. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Right.
That
Again,
came
that
after
one was
Yeezus.
not that good. Yeah, that came after Yeezus. Everything Yeezus and beyond, I was done with
So-
Kanye. Obviously, this new person that he is, I
But
don't like
we
it.
talking about all the time, so I'm assuming that you cannot separate the person from the music.
I can to an extent.
That's a great question.
It depends on the person. Kanye, yes, to an extent I can, but there is this huge. I need someone to consolidate Jesus Walks Kanye with Slavery is a Choice Kanye. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's why with him it's hard for me to separate, because when I hear that old Kanye, I remember old Kanye, and I also remember the fact that he said that slavery was a choice, and said that Trump putting on the Trump hat made him feel like Superman or whatever.
Oh, Jesus.
Well,
You know
we've
what
kind
I
of
mean?
been having a continuing conversation ever since the Lifetime
R.
documentary
Kelly.
series on R. Kelly
Mhm.
about being able to separate the music from the
R.
artist.
Kelly is one I can't separate him from his music. Like
Okay.
the person is the music,
But-
100%.
Well, that's fine, but do you feel like, or do you have an issue with people who can? Like
What?
people who
Can
still
sell-
listen to R. Kelly music.
No, you're not gonna hear it in my car.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
No, but some
So,
people
no, yeah, it
take
doesn't-
issue with that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think if we were to start discussing it, and if they were to support some of that sick mindset, then yeah, that would be a problem. But if you can separate the music, from him, then that's your own personal preference. One phrase I use all the time is taste and preferences. Everybody got their own taste and their own preferences. R. Kelly ain't never been my taste. So it's easy for me to
Easy
make
for
him
you,
not my
like,
preference.
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying he doesn't have hits. Obviously he does. Obviously I know some R. Kelly songs, but to be like, oh, let's listen to that 12 play in the car today. Nah, that's never been me. That's never going to be me. When I saw the documentary, it was like, oh, canceled. That was easy.
Yeah.
Whereas with Kanye, I've been struggling with this for like 4 years.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like really struggling, because I was a legit Kanye fan. I've seen him in concert and
I think as a whole, like the whole black community has struggled.
with Kanye.
With Kanye.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man. that
I
hurt
wanted
my
to give
soul,
his
too.
little Sunday service a chance yesterday, but I saw them fits and I was just like, nah, man, slavery is still a choice. I think. Like, so yeah.
He's let us all down. All right. So just to recap, there's J. Cole, Jay-Z, Lil Wayne,
That's the top
Nipsey
3.
Hussle.
That's the top 3. That's really the top 3.
That's the top 3.
Like anytime you like are
Who
with
sits-
me, that's
but
what
who
I'm
sits-
All at this list.
But who sits at the top?
out of those 3.
Mm-hmm.
Jay-Z.
Jay-Z,
Jay-Z,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Who's
What's
at
the
number-
problem, man?
Yeah,
Say,
I got a
speak
problem
in
with your
peace,
list, too.
man. Speak in peace, man. Let's
I like
speak
Jay,
on
but
it.
I don't like that
Well-
Jay at the top of your pool list.
So let's let's talk about
Wait,
it.
time out. Of the people she named, Jay-Z definitely
He's the best.
is
Yeah,
the best.
Easy.
Definitely. From content, from what he talked about, for his
But no, I
growth as
just got a
an
problem
artist.
with other people not being on that list.
Like who?
Oh yeah, you was. But what I would say to defend her, she did say that you probably saw, with Jay-Z Reasonable Doubt, that was 96.
Yeah.
So you probably was getting into rap
Yeah.
like at that period
Yeah.
and after.
Yeah.
So like the Biggie and Pac, their biggest stuff was before that. You know what I'm saying?
Not that I don't know Biggie
Yeah,
and Pac.
no,
Not
of
that I
course.
don't like Biggie and
Of
Pac.
course.
Not that I don't think they got some of the greatest songs of all time. Because everybody in my family knows that like Big Papa is my family.
don't like
party
Biggie.
song.
But it's been more of Jay-Z. It's been more of J.
Yeah,
Cole. Drake.
and he's been consistent throughout my life from the time I was a kid
And,
to.
and
you
I
know what I'm
respect
saying?
that because people not going to agree with my tops.
Who are your tops?
But Jay-Z has more of a body of work than Biggie and Pac anyway.
I don't care.
Well-
Pac had more
Well, Pac-
influence over life
yeah.
than
Pac-
Jay. Like
Pac had more impactful songs than Jay-Z. I'm sorry.
Pac is my number
I
one.
mean, but we talking about like who
No,
was
we
better
not
for the
talking-
community,
we not talking
or
about
who
that.
made
No.
better music.
Pac was good for the community. What you talking about?
No,
That's
Pac,
that's
no,
that's
not
what I'm
he
saying.
said. Pac had more impactful songs than Jay-Z, bro. People still know Pac work. People who ain't even Pac fans know Pac songs.
I mean, I'm not saying that they don't, but
All
like
right.
you
I
act
get-
like Jay-Z
I get-
got like 3 hits.
But I guarantee, I'm not saying that, but I guarantee you, everybody not gonna know Jay-Z hits 30 years from now. The Jay-Z fans gonna know that.
They gonna know Jay-Z
It's the
hits.
same. Just
Name-
like our
name-
parents.
name-
Just like our
name-
parents
name-
would
name
say.
some hits
like,
that everybody
think
gonna
about
know
our,
in
think about our
20 years.
parents.
He
Our
has
parents would have
some-
been like,
Everybody
Rakim.
gonna know Big Pimpin'.
He has some. I get that. He has some, but the ones that Pac had that are still like strong today, like I don't see Jay-Z having that.
Nobody's gonna teach classes on Jay-Z in college.
No. Well, I'll say
did talk about Jay-Z
not from a
class.
purely music standpoint, from a business standpoint.
I mean, just all around, yeah,
All
for
around,
sure.
I think they will.
I'm talking about the music.
Yeah.
Let me finish my list. Pac at number 1.
I'm with you on that.
I got Jay at 2.
I'm with you
Okay.
on that.
I got Andre 3000.
Oh, 3 stacks. Yeah, okay.
I just let me
Wait,
finish my list.
lyrically or like just hits? Because lyrically, Andre 3000 is good.
Lyrically, the way he put his rhymes together, his
Overall,
flow, overall,
I can respect it.
F.O. I know y'all ain't rocking with that Eminem role.
Oh no,
He does roll. I'm not knocking him. I'm
I'm
not
not
knocking
with
him. I'm not knocking him.
And the way he puts it together and his lyrically, can't nobody mess with
He
him.
kind of did
lyrically.
work Jay-Z and Renegade.
Yeah,
He did.
Okay.
J. Cole.
Kinda.
J. Cole, then I had a 6th, honorable mention with Kendrick. I cancel Kanye because of how he been acting.
Yeah, Kanye can't be on there.
You
He
lost
used to
me
be
after
on there,
a
like
while.
legit
I mean, that's
profound
not
to
a- that's not
me,
a
and now he's
list.
like completely off of there.
You lost me after a while.
I just can't. I don't know how Eminem can't be a top 5.
I don't know why he can't be top 5.
Because let me tell you why.
Why?
He was, but see, this new stuff he been doing is not. I don't think it meets up to the legendary status of
Have you
of
listened
what
to
he's
his
already
most
set up.
recent album?
That's what I'm talking about. Out here trying to.
The album before
It's-
that was
was
garbage.
garbage. Right? I know.
But this
I know.
most recent album,
I'm not saying it's not bad. It's like he was looking at what everybody was saying on the internet.
I don't think he could say what he used to say as him in today's.
well, wait a minute.
But that's why he should.
Jay-Z
I think
put
that's
out
why he should. He
Kingdom
couldn't have
Come.
said it in '99, and he was saying it.
That was his only whack album.
but it
Well,
was wet.
Maybe 1 or 2 whack.
Yeah, but 2 whack albums are
It's
what,
enough
like
to take you down.
10, 12?
The Kingdom Comes whack.
And that's why I don't get why y'all trying to
Blueprint
forever
3
put.
had like
and that's
one
why,
cut.
Wait, Blueprint 3 was decent.
Was decent.
But
I
look,
thought
they
it was
wouldn't
great.
trash.
Look. This is my point. I don't forget why y'all forever trying to put Biggie in the top 5 with one album.
Who said who? I wouldn't trying to put Big in the top 5.
People do it all the time.
Biggie had 2 albums.
Oh, 2.
but I wouldn't.
Life
I,
After Death.
I wouldn't.
correcting you.
That yeah.
2 albums.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
That he didn't drop. He didn't drop.
He
They
didn't
dropped
drop.
it for
I'm
him.
not
Right,
putting
right.
Big
But it
on
was already
Jay-Z.
recorded. He died right before he dropped it.
And it was 2 discs. Let's Throw that in.
But 2 albums, you can't compete with people
Look,
that
he
got that
didn't-
many bodies of work.
He
to
didn't
me.
have a vast body of work.
Because he could have had that stride where he
But
dropped
people-
2 wax
people-
like Eminem or
with-
Jay-Z.
But with Biggie, people are going strictly more so off of talent.
But that speaks
Which
volumes.
Eminem has a lot
But if
of.
we gonna talk about talent, no love for Mac.
But that speaks volumes
Rest in
about
peace, Mac.
who?
No love for Mac.
Mac Miller?
Mac.
No, man, Mac.
Oh,
no
no
limit.
From No
Mac.
Limit, boy, bye.
If you don't get
Y'all
up out
tripping,
here,
man. Mac was good.
Boy, bye.
Man,
Hey, man.
stop.
Mac had 1 hit.
Look for
I like Mac.
look for the
but
black
nah.
figure, man.
Mac shell shocked.
Hey, man, y'all tripping, man. Mac
Yeah.
was good.
Wait a minute, I did like him, but he had
Top
no
5.
place.
We talking about top 5. You
No.
gonna bring up Mac?
He shouldn't even be in
Well,
top.
no, my argument was you made the point that people put Biggie up there straight
But Biggie
off talent.
Biggie
Mac
was.
was not close to
Biggie can be
talent.
put up there. You talking
cannot-
about Biggie and Mac?
You can't-
talking about Big Mac,
Let's
man.
be real. Biggie get put up there because he got shot.
No,
No.
If
No.
Biggie don't get
No.
killed, we're not talking about Biggie.
No.
like
He
that.
was a
No.
beast
Bruh,
lyrically.
you know how many rappers been killed?
Jay-Z mimicked his whole game off the Biggie.
You
What talking
tripping.
about?
Man, whatever, man.
You're tripping,
Yeah,
George.
Man, whatever,
Let's
man.
go.
Let's go.
man.
All right, everybody, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with our black prominent figure right after this. We're going to do this all year round, not just during Black History Month, and we are going to give it to you right after this.
Yeah, because we gotta hurry up.
You know your credit score bad. I'm not a smile, you on the Starbucks page. That's solid quality time. Right. Why is Steve Harvey still writing books when it's Wall Street? Wait a minute. Like, if I want you, I ain't taking you to Waffle House at 2 a.m. Cause you bullshit. Hey, look, I care about you. We going to Waffle House. I will.
All right, everybody, we're back, and we have this black prominent figure. Miss Brandi, who do you have for us?
Gwen Ifill. Gwen Ifill is an American Peabody Award-winning journalist. She actually passed of cancer back in 2016, but she was one of the first black women to have like a public politics show back in the Gap. So if there were no Gwen Ifill, there would be none of us that really do TV news, especially the ones you see that are like hosting on CNN and they get to host those kind of debates. Gwen Ifill was like the pioneer for black women on that. She also wrote a best-selling book about Obama's rise in politics. He shouted her out multiple times when she passed. He shouted her out again. She was a pretty big deal.
Also, she
in
recently passed.
2016, yep. And again, she was one of those black journalists. I'm assuming when you're somebody like Obama, there's not a whole lot of us that come through, so you kind of tend to remember their names when they do and remember at least a little bit about them, because you have a different connection with them than you do with others. Or at least that's what I've read about her. And from what I understand, she's just had a big influence on a lot of my mentors and the people that I follow as far as wanting to give rise and give voice to people and communities that normally don't, and making sure that their stories are told in an accurate and fair way.
Well, that sounds awesome. Gwen Ifill. That's,
Gwen Ifill, yes.
Big up
Gwendolyn
Sister
Ifill.
Ifill.
we appreciate the contribution. Also, I don't know if we mentioned, but you recently got an award, correct?
I did.
Check
I
you out.
was awarded an Outstanding Alumni Award from the Southern University Mass Communications Department, in which I am an alumna. And they honored me for my work as a broadcast journalist and work that I've done outside of my degree.
Well, that is awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah, and if everybody
Well
wants to-
deserved.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Why don't you tell people how to find you?
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at Brandi B. Harris TV. That's Brandi with an I. Brandi B. Harris TV. Again, that's Instagram, Twitter, Facebook.
All
I
right.
think I'm kind of fun, so follow me.
You know what else is kind of fun?
Biscuits and bourbon.
That was a perfect plug,
The
brother.
shameless plug.
May 19th. I believe, do we have any reserve access left?
They got a few tickets.
It's got like a few.
Oh, man. It's the bottom of the barrel for the reserve access. Y'all
We
better
will
hurry
not
up.
be selling tickets at the door.
Nah.
No tickets at the door. That is correct. By the way, if you've listened to this entire podcast, go ahead and subscribe and share this episode with a friend. We appreciate it. As always, you can find us on IG. That's at The Reserve Man. And Miss Brandi, we definitely appreciate you coming and sharing
y'all so
your
much for having me.
media knowledge with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Will
All
you
right.
be back?
Fellas, y'all got anything?
Nah.
That's it. We are out.
You know your credit score bad. I'm not surprised you on the top of that's solid quality stuff. Right. Why is Steve Harvey still writing books when it's Wall Street? Like, if I want you, I ain't say you to Waffle House at 4 a.m.